Okay, so welcome to Don't Solve People's Problems and Other Counterintuitive Coaching Secrets. I'm McKenna Sage, and I am the co founder of Follow Your Aliveness, as well as the Mastery of Coaching Facebook group, which many of you are watching in right now. Some of you are here on Instagram. And so we're going to be diving into some really powerful coaching principles today. And what this is going to really support you with is if you've ever had that feeling, and by the way, while you guys are tuning in, I love to make these interactive. So please say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from and that you can see and hear me okay before we dive into the good stuff here. So I hear from people a lot like there's kind of this stress that happens in coaching sessions where you're like, oh my gosh, what's the next question I should be asking? Or you're trying to think like, how am I going to get this person to this result that they want, right? Or that you've enrolled them in this idea of really reaching their dreams and goals, and it's like, how do you actually get them there now? If you've ever had that experience of sort of like, ooh, I hope I can, right, get them to where they want to go, then that's what this video is really about today. So again, as you tune in, I want to make sure we have sound working, video working. So just tell me where you are watching from. And so this is really powerful because, this first point I want to talk about today is about not solving people's problems. And I love this one because whenever I tell it to people or I demonstrate this in a coaching evening or something like that, people are like shocked. They're flabbergasted. What does that mean? Don't solve people's problems. Isn't that the whole point of coaching, right? And I say, no. Instead, we want to give people a bigger and better problem. Okay, good. Seeing some comments coming in. Hello, ladies. Quebec City, wonderful. England, great. Iowa, great to see you, Christy. Awesome. Thank you for being here. So, what do I mean by don't solve people's problems, right? It's like, isn't that what we're here for as a coach? But the truth is, no, that's not actually why people come to you. So, why do they come to you? They come to you because they want to get what they ultimately want, right? I'll give you an example. I have a new client that I'm working with. We had an initial call, and then we did a longer session. We have another session this week. And she is very successful, doing really, really well in her career. And she is looking for business coaching to take her business to the next level. And she said to me in our second call, she said, my husband was shocked that after I got off the call with you, I immediately had signed on for the next thing. And he was like, wow, you've talked to a lot of other coaches. What made you say yes to working with this woman, me, right, McKenna, when everybody else, you said you needed to think about it? And she gave me this feedback. She said, it's because everybody else was trying to solve my problem. So everybody else, she didn't say solve my problem, but that's basically what she meant. She's like, every other coach that I talked to, I told them what I'd done. I presented them with this idea that I had for what I thought I might want to do to get to my next level that, someone had helped me come up with. And they told me all the ways they could help me get there, right? So essentially they were like solving the problem. And she said, you didn't do that. You didn't do that. She said, you asked me these questions and we really examined, like, was that actually what I wanted to do? And I did. I saw she laid out this whole plan and I said, great. I mean, that sounds like a great plan, but I said, can I ask you some more questions? And we really dug into, like, what did she want? What was the lifestyle she wanted? How much money did she want to be making? Where did she want to end up, right? When we were done with all this work together and she got these results. And then I looked at what she presented me and I said, that may be it, but it may not be. There might be a different path because I see this potentially leading here. And she was so amazed, right? And so grateful that someone would not just get in and try to solve the problem, but actually help her see, is that actually where she wanted to go? And so this is kind of an example of what we're talking about here today. Is every other coach out there, I say every coach, I'm sure there are coaches that aren't doing this, but 95% of coaches that I see and talk to, they're in there trying to solve people's problems with them. They're in there trying to strategize and help them figure out their next steps. but that is not what the most powerful coaching comes from, right? So what do you guys think you do instead? Timothy says, bad reception deep in Hidden Glen Valley of Alpine. Awesome. Helena, good to see you in Copenhagen. I love how international these calls are. So what do you guys think you do instead? Instead of solving people's problems, I want you to use your brains here and see if you can kind of glean from what I shared already in my story. What do we do instead? I'm going to wait a minute because it takes a few seconds with the chat here. I'll tell you guys another story while I wait. So I've told this story quite a bit, that when I was really unhappy in my previous career and looking to make a change, I went to a lot of different coaches and had a similar experience. All the coaches that I went to were like, let's help you see how to grow in your business, or let's help you see this, or this. And I just never got the clarity I was looking for. I was like, I don't know, something just it's not quite clicking, right? And I was like, I don't know why this isn't clicking though. But just something in me intuitively knew that wasn't taking me in the direction I wanted to go, right? And okay, we've got Southern California. Christy says, ask questions to help them discover what is needed. That's close. That's a part of it, Christy. I don't know if it's M or Eve, says, help them realize they have everything in them to work through their problems. Okay, good guess. That's not actually it either. You guys are going to love this. Ready? I said it in the beginning, and I'm going to say it again, but then I'll actually explain what I mean. We don't solve people's problems. We give them a bigger and better problem. All right? Think about it. When somebody is in a problem, so to speak, or they think like in their day-to-day, they're struggling with something. They're thinking about it all the time. Like when I wanted to make a change in my career, right? Helena, yes, that's a really big part of coaching, is like letting them reach their own solutions. We'll talk about that in a minute, but this is actually a little bit of a subtle difference here. What we want to do is they're in the box of their own thinking. Do you guys get that? Like every day they're sitting there thinking the same thoughts, looking at things through the same lens, and you come in as a coach, and when you try to solve their problems and help them figure out a solution, you're actually getting stuck inside the box with them. Even if you are outside of it a little bit, it's like you're going down to their level of thinking by trying to solve that problem. Do you guys get that? Like that Einstein quote, I talk about it all the time. You can't solve a problem from the same level of thinking that created it. When you go in to solve the problem somebody is presenting you, it's like you're here and they're here on levels of thinking, or who cares? Like it doesn't matter high or low, right? But you're at different levels, and then you're going, I'm going to help you try to figure this out. You see? So instead, we're going to give them a bigger and better problem. What is the bigger and better problem? Going for what they want, what they really want. You guys get that? So when I worked with that woman in the last week, I didn't go in to solve her problem of like, how do I make this strategy work for me to get me to where I think I want to go? I dug deep into, where do you really want to go? What's the lifestyle you want? How do you want to be spending your time? What's the ultimate goal here? Not like all the things you think you need to get there. What's the ultimate goal? Then we can backtrack from there, and then she has a better problem, right? Instead of trying to figure out how to make that strategy work, she gets to figure out, how do I go for what I really want? Then as a coach, I can of course support her in getting her there, but not by trying to solve that initial problem. You guys see that? We see this all the time with our coaches who go through our Aliveness Mastery certification. This is one of the biggest things that we have to train out of them. You guys see? Is like we don't solve those problems, and we do it like unconsciously. We jump in and we want to help people. And I say, don't help people. Actually, sometimes people don't end up finding the solution in your call. You might have a session with someone, or I might coach someone. I'll tell you another story here. One of our students in Aliveness Mastery, we were demonstrating some coaching on her. I remember this call very clearly, and we got her to a bigger and better problem than the one she had been thinking about, but we didn't sort of solve that even that one, we didn't solve it in the moment. In fact, she left the call feeling like she wasn't really clear. And most coaches would be like scared about that. They'd be like, oh my God, she's even less clear. But I knew she was in the right place she needed to be in, because sometimes my mentor says confusion can be a very high state. Sometimes people need to sit in the confusion a little bit, not like a bad confusion, but like, wow, they're in a completely different way of thinking. And they might not see everything all at once, you see? So she went off the call, and the rest of the students are like, oh my God, like we're going to leave her in that, right? And what do you know? She had a huge breakthrough in the day leading, after that. She shared with us in the chat, oh my gosh, I see it now, like this and this and this, you see? So it's not being afraid as the coach to allow people to not sort of come to the answer all the time. You guys understand? Sometimes you will, but other times it's actually opening up a bigger question. And the question isn't necessarily something you can solve in that session. You guys get that? Let me get some like ahas or something in the chat. Say aha in the chat if this is making sense, because I want to make sure this is landing and you guys are really understanding what I'm talking about here. So why is this important? Because you will, when you learn these kinds of skills, and this is what we teach in our 9-month certification, it's a very in-depth coaching program, and it is one part, I'm going to close my Slack here so we don't get all this background noise. It's one part transformational program, so you're going through your own transformation. It's one part coaching certification, really learning coaching mastery. Even if you have gone through another coaching certification, many of our students have, they really come in to learn those advanced skills and to apply them to themselves first. Some people use it as their initial, like their first ever coaching program. Some people use it really as the advanced. But when we set out to create it, we said, we want to create a program to take people to mastery level. And my mentor has been doing this work for 36 years. And when I started coaching, it was invaluable to me. And you guys, I was just on Boxer with a client this morning, and she had this situation with one of her clients, her new clients. And I was coaching her around it and around what to do and how to set the tone and how to make sure this back and forth doesn't happen. And I was just like, oh my God, this woman I'm coaching has been coaching for 20 years. And yet, because I had the mentorship of my mom, who's been doing this for 36 years, I have learned so much in such a short time. And that's what we really created the program for, is like to take you to that mastery level, have you have your own transformation in the process, and then pair that with an entire business coaching program at the same time. So I share that because what we're talking about today is the tip of the iceberg. And if you're curious at all about that program, our next group starts in about 2 weeks. And you can just type mastery in the chat if you have any interest in it, because this is your last chance. Actually, we're not going to be running another group for the rest of the year. So it's going to be quite a while before another group starts. And Christy, I know you went through the program, so you can share a little bit if you'd like about how that was for you, or anybody else who's watching who's been through the program. But it is a phenomenal program. I highly, highly recommend you at least explore it if you have any curiosity after what I shared today. So going back to these coaching principles, the reason they're so powerful is because, like, this is the core of what you're doing, right? And the better you are at coaching, the more relaxed you're going to be when you're working with your clients, the better results they're going to get. I always say coaching mastery increases the 3 R's: repeat clients, referrals, and your reputation. Everyone write that down if you're taking notes. Repeat clients, referrals, and your reputation. So important, right? Because everybody's out there trying to do all this fancy marketing to get a bunch of new clients, when the truth is you could have clients coming back and signing on again and again. That's what we have. We have a very high retention rate. People sign on again and again to work with us. And that's because of these coaching principles that we're talking about today, right? So repeat clients is number 1. Referrals is because they're having such a great experience, they go tell all their friends. How great would it be if, instead of having to go out there and like market yourself constantly, I mean, you still have to market yourself, that's a part of the business, right? But instead of having to do that like all the time and like get trust with new people, what if like your clients came back and wanted to work, like told you on your last session, like, how do I continue? I've had that happen so many times, tons of times, right? What's the next step? How do I keep going? Wouldn't that be great, you guys, if you all could have that kind of results with your clients and they were ready to invest and go further? And then secondly, they send us other people. They say like, oh, I have this person you need to talk to, or, oh, I told my friend about you. I want to put you in touch. You guys understand that the majority of our business, and we have a, multiple six-figure business, the majority of our business comes through repeat clients, referrals, warm network, right? We do some online marketing. We're doing that right here, right? Sharing great value online and seeing who's curious about continuing. But how great would it be if you could have that more? So Helena says, definitely. Christy says, program's great. Do it. Anybody thinking about it, you will learn so much. Thanks, Christy. We loved having you in it. So next point, everybody, I hope you're writing these down. Don't solve people's problems. Instead, give them a bigger and better problem, or going for what they want. And remember, you don't have to solve that all in the session. The next point is this: don't listen. Don't listen to your clients. Now, of course, you're going to listen, so there's subtlety to this. But instead of listening in the way you're used to listening, you're going to watch for the lights. Watch for the lights. You may have heard me talk about this in some of our trainings before if you've been on these trainings. Don't listen, watch for the lights. What do I mean? Most of the time when people are listening, they get caught up in people's stories. Again, it's similar to getting stuck in their worldview, to getting kind of in that box of the way they're thinking. People start telling you their whole life story. They start telling you all the reasons they are the way they are, all the reasons this isn't going to work, or they've tried this before, or whatever, right? And most coaches start empathizing. Oh, I get that. Yeah, I really see that. They start relating. Maybe I had a similar experience. I really understand. And we think that that's helpful. But the truth is it's not actually helpful. Why not? Do you guys know? Why is it not helpful to sort of listen like a friend, or, empathize in the way of like, yeah, I've been through that too, or, what else? Or like really get caught up in their story and like, oh yeah, like I see what you're talking about. Like, why is that actually counterproductive as a coach? It actually will get in the way of your results with your clients. I want to hear from some of you in the chat. Take a guess. You guys did great with the guessing last time. Thank you for playing along. It's really good for you to see. Can you see, why wouldn't that be the way to go? Why wouldn't that be the way to go? I'll wait a second while you... So there's something we talk about. I'm trying to think if I can give an example on this one. Well, there's something we talk about called staying in the seat of the coach. So while I'm waiting for you guys to type your guesses, I'll tell you about the seat of the coach, and then we'll come back around to the question. So the seat of the coach is, it's an energy that you sit in as a coach, empowers the egoic storytelling and identity. Yeah, to some degree, that's a great way to describe it, Timothy. Helena says it will get them nowhere. I'm not their friend, but their coach. Yeah, so both are accurate. To Tim's point, I think what he's saying there is the egoic storytelling and identity is like we're listening and we're sort of buying into, again, their worldview. But the whole reason they hired you as a coach is to come in with an outside perspective and see what you really see. And when you get caught up in their story and you start listening like a friend and empathizing and all these things, then you actually, again, go to their level of thinking and start almost unconsciously perpetuating that level of thinking. That's what we think of as empathetic, which is actually sympathetic responses. We say you can be empathetic, but not sympathetic, right? So you want to have empathetic, like you want to have empathy, which is like your heart is open and you're connected, and you can say things like, I got that. I get that. But that is neutral, right? So I get that as I get your experience, but it's neutral. And emotionally you're connected, but you're not buying into their stories, okay? So you're not their friend in this context, even if you are their friend outside of the coaching container. That doesn't mean you can't be warm and connected, but you want to maintain the seat of the coach. So instead, you're going to listen, but you're not going to listen. Instead, you're going to watch for the lights. The lights are the twinkle in their eye when they're talking. And it's very subtle sometimes, but you want to watch for these shifts in their vitality. And this is it seems so simple and everybody thinks, oh, I can do that, right? And everybody forgets. And it takes months of training. This is why our program is 9 months. People think, oh, I got that, right? And then we have them practice and we watch and it's like, where'd you see the light? Oh, wait, I wasn't paying attention, right? Or I think I saw it here. No, they were smiling there, but there wasn't actually a lot of light. So these are subtle distinctions. But what happens when you learn to watch for the light is aliveness, the light that we see in people's eyes when they talk, is a clue. It's aliveness is like the compass that points the way to your most extraordinary life, to that person's most extraordinary life. It is like this compass that always points to their true north. And so when you learn to watch for these shifts in vitality, to the shifts in aliveness, then you don't need to get distracted by all these other things, listening to their stories, trying to solve their problems. You follow the lights. And when you follow those lights and you continue down that path, then a whole new world opens up. And that's what I did with that new client. Was she shared and she told me this whole strategy, and I said, what do you really want? What's the end result? We started going down that path and I watched for the lights. I watched for shifts in her vitality. So we did this whole deep dive session and I simply reflected back to her. I say simply, it takes a lot of practice, but I reflected back to her where I saw the most vitality and aliveness. And this is valuable information for people. She was like, oh my God, like I knew this, but it's like people always know deep down, but they forget. You guys understand that? So Catherine says, that's why I don't do single sessions, because their issue is not the problem they came to me with. I help them ID the bigger problem and then we work on that. Yeah, exactly. And I think you're just saying problem as and I say give them a bigger and better problem, so you're probably saying it because of that. Of course, in the context of coaching, we don't think about it as a problem. We think about it as like really going for what they want, right? Christy says practice in the class is amazing. Yeah, so you get practice in these small groups, with each other. You're getting coaching as you're doing it. You have a mentor teaching you and giving you feedback, and it's invaluable, right? To have that kind of like hands-on feedback along the way, whether you're a new coach or an advanced coach. So you're going to stay in the seat of the coach, and this is where you are in a state of receptivity. You are listening, but you're not listening. You're watching for the lights. And in this space, there's a lot more to it, but in this space of the seat of the coach, people will start to open up in a new way when you're in that energy. And you will start to see things as they talk, as you get more advanced with this. You'll start to see the whole picture. And alternative and often innovative options will emerge. And with practice, you'll begin to sense intuitively where to take the conversation and what questions to ask to connect deeply with your client and create a space for profound transformation. So this again takes practice, all right? So the main points we've talked about so far: don't solve people's problems, give them a bigger and better problem, going for what they want. Don't listen, instead watch for the lights. And then the stay in the seat of the coach, which I don't have time to go super deep into today, but it is one of the biggest, most profound shifts that you will have. We had a client, she went through Aliveness Mastery. She didn't even know if she wanted to coach, by the way. A lot of people who go through the program are in corporate, or they are entrepreneurs, or they just have a sense they want to work with people in some way. And she ended up actually going a consulting route. So she left her corporate job, and through the support she got in the program, she saw really clearly what she wanted to do, which is a huge piece of it, right? It's about your own clarity too. In fact, I've just been doing all these interviews with people who are graduating from the program right now. And I asked them, like, what's shifted? Of course, there's many things, but a lot of them say, like, I'm super clear on what I want, and I have the confidence to go out and create it. And that's huge, you guys, right? Wouldn't we all love to be like crystal clear on what we really want and confident to go out there and make it happen, right? So what was I going to say about that, though? Stay in the seat of the coach. Oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. I have no idea. Maybe it'll come back to me. So people have been sharing that they see what it is they want, and then they know how to go after it. I have no idea. Totally lost it. Okay, so let's go to the next point. So we said don't listen, watch for the lights. And then this is the next one. Don't give advice. Instead, allow people to choose their path. So this is what Helena was talking about. in her response earlier about like letting them reach their own solutions, right? So this is one you hear more often in the coaching industry, which is great because it's really important, but I still see people jump in with advice a lot of the time, right? Have you ever been in a conversation with someone, maybe it was a friend or your partner or a coach, and you're telling them kind of what you want or what you see, and they jump in with like, oh, you should do it this way, or here's what you could do, or this is right, and they think they're being helpful, and you might even be like, wow, yeah, that's a good idea. But why is that not the best way? Why is that not the best way? Now, there are moments to come in with what you see. So I'm not saying you never say what you see. I'm saying there's a difference between that and giving advice, and there's also a timing to this, okay? So instead, we want people to choose their own path. What most people think of as coaching involves a lot of giving advice or telling other people what they should do. Instead, we want to remember people already know the answers. They already know what they want deep down. You guys get that? Like everyone knows what they want. If they think they don't know what they want, they just don't know how to get to it. And that's your role as a coach, is to help them see. Helena says, if you're giving advice, you're no longer a coach, but a mentor. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. And for me, they blend, right? So there's definitely times, you guys, Helena, I know you're in Package Your Wisdom, you'll see that I will jump in with what I see or with what I've learned or something like that. So coach and mentor can blend, right? There's times for the mentorship piece, but the coaching piece usually comes first. It depends on the situation, but we're talking about really helping guide people. It's really the true art of coaching, is helping guide people to what they already know deep inside that they want. So allowing them to really talk things through and then asking them questions that lead them to their own solutions. So most of the time, this will lead people to true clarity, where none of the other stuff we try to do will. And this also gives them ownership of their own solutions. So when people come to me and they say, my client says they want to do this thing, and they're just not doing it. Like, we've set up accountability, we've set up all these things, and I think, so there's some room for growth here in terms of that person really taking ownership of their, like, what they want to do. Obviously, they haven't owned it. And a lot of times a coach will be trying to like get them somewhere. And that agenda we talk about as a coach, you cannot have an agenda. You do not want to have any sort of agenda. In fact, that leads me into the last point, which is if you think you know what's going on, you're full of it. Write that one down, you guys. This is one I don't hear very often, right? The minute you think you know what's going on as a coach, you're full of it. What does that mean, right? We might be good at listening, or we're coaching, or we're not jumping in with our advice. We're asking all our questions, and then we think, oh yeah, well, I totally see what's going on with this person, right? This is happening and that, and we kind of make up our own kind of story about what's happening. Or, oh my gosh, based on what they just told me, I know what they should do. I see it. I know what they should do. Have you guys ever had a moment like that? Be honest. You're like, oh, I just see it, right? I know what they should do. And you may have moments of clarity where you really see a possible path for someone, but the minute you think you know what's going on or what someone should or shouldn't do, you're full of it. Do you guys understand? Why is that? Because you've attached to something, and there can be no attachment as a coach. You get that? I had a client, she came to me, she really wanted to launch a group program. She had been coaching one-on-one. She was full with her one-on-one clients. She was tired of it. And so we started working on, creating that. We really made sure it was the direction she wanted to go, that it was in alignment, that it was, had energy and aliveness for her. And she would come to me and she wouldn't have done any of the stuff. And most coaches would be like trying to create more accountability or trying to whatever. And I would just sit with her and like, well, why do you think you're not doing that? Well, I don't know, right? Okay, well, is it something you want to do? Like, do you still want to do that? Well, I mean, right? So I'd ask questions, but I never assume, even though she came to me saying, I want to launch a group program, we could have ended up in a completely different place in our coaching, right? Or let's say someone's telling you a story, or they're, sharing about their life, and you think, oh, this is why they are the way they are, or this is what happened. What happens in that moment? What do you guys think? You have actually pinned somebody into like a box, basically. Let's go back to the box analogy, right? Do you guys understand that? It's almost like creating a view of someone. And even if it's a positive view, you've suddenly put limitation around something. And as a coach, it's very important that that does not happen. You guys get that? We want to open up possibility. And so the minute you think you know what's going on, you feel yourself reach a conclusion, say to yourself, whoop, I'm full of it. I actually have no idea what's going on here, right? I can offer what I see. I can give direct feedback, right? Not criticism, not advice, feedback, clear reflection of what you see. But you have to be completely unattached. No judgment, no criticism, no advice. Sort of, not detach from the clients. I don't mean detach in a way like you want to detach from like thinking you know what's going on or who they are or who they're not or what they should do or shouldn't do or any of that. You want to actually be very warm and connected to your clients, but also have this sort of detachment, yes, from those things. Does that make sense? So Loretta, how do we create content around our niche without giving advice, telling them what to do? Great question. So most people, what they think they're doing, what they think coaching is a lot of creating content. It's a lot of teaching, right? And you can absolutely have room for teaching in your coaching, but that's not what true coaching is, right? That is the kind of coaching that will lead you to have a client once and then not have them come back again. Why? There's going to come a point where you've taught them everything you know around that area, right? They're going to outpace you, or ideally they are, right? They're going to grow quickly and then they're going to move on to other things and other people who have more new things to tell them and teach them. So that's not true coaching, in my opinion. True coaching is the ability, there are coaching skills that you can learn where they never stop being able to kind of take people to that next level. And that's what we're talking about here. So I coach first, and then I bring in aspects of what I know, strategies I might teach or whatever. So there is that mentorship or teaching component to what I do. And sometimes if people come into a program, then of course we're teaching or giving content, but it's transformational first and informational last. You guys get that distinction? This is why people think they need to create all this content for their coaching packages. I'm like, it doesn't need to be so hard. Oh, I think I remember one of the things I was going to say earlier. One of the women who went through our coaching program, she was, oh my God, I went off on a whole tangent there. She was, came in, she ended up starting a consulting business, and she really got the clarity in the program about what she wanted to do. And she left her high-paying corporate job. I just saw her the other day. She just landed a 6-figure contract for 2 months of work. She's thriving, right? And a lot of that came out of the foundation we laid in Aliveness Mastery. Even though she didn't end up becoming a coach, she uses what she learned in her consulting all the time. Not to mention, she had a profound transformation. And so she was, when she first started in the program, she was practicing coaching and she was giving a lot of advice, or she was like, working really hard in her sessions to try to get people somewhere. And when she learned a lot of our coaching skills like receptivity and being in the seat of the coach, she actually learned to sit back, relax, stop listening to their stories, stop, getting into that whole dynamic, and use these coaching skills we teach, like curiosity and receptivity, and asking these powerful open-ended questions. And then people come to their own solutions. And she came to us and she was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like, I feel like I have this superpower. I'm so much more relaxed. And the people they see exactly where they want to go. And then they're like thanking me because they've never had anyone hold space for them like that, where they have such clarity. You guys get that? And so So this is what I'm talking about with coaching. So Loretta's asking about a group coaching program. Yeah, so a group coaching program, you can have content. I'll give you an example. My first ever program was a group coaching program, and I had some content or some topics that I was going to share in each class, but then I made the focus still about coaching. So I might teach a little bit on a topic and then have some questions or whatever, but I always open coach. In every program I lead, basically, I don't think we have any programs where we don't do open coaching. And that means like I would get on, we'd teach, we'd do some stuff, and then I would just say, let's do some coaching. And I would work with each person in the group in front of the other people so everybody can learn from it. And I would just see like not just around what we talked about that day, but like what's going on in their life and their business, whatever area you're supporting them with. And I would use my coaching skills then. Because otherwise you're trying to like fit people into how you think this thing needs to be taught. And people are going to be at all different stages. They're going to have all different kinds of stuff coming up in their life. And so the open coaching is such an important part, in my opinion. But there are many different ways. But this is where you will see, like, people come to us all the time frustrated. And maybe, did any of you relate to this? Like, just say yes in the chat if you relate to this. Have you done programs and you feel like you've gone through all these programs and you've learned all this stuff, but it's like, it's not really tailored to you. And you feel like, oh my God, like I'm just overwhelmed with all this information and I don't really know, like, do I do this? Do I do that? I tried doing this and it didn't really work. And have you guys ever had that feeling, right? Say yes in the chat if you've ever had that feeling. So this is what I'm talking about here is like people think that they need to provide all this information, but that's not actually what people want. People do not want all this information. What they want is transformation. People want transformation. And so in that, teaching may play a role in that, but that's why anytime somebody comes in, if you guys come into Aliveness Mastery or into my business coaching program or into, anything and come in and work with us, we are transformation first, information second. You understand? We will be coaching you directly. You will be getting support. You will be getting hands-on, from us, from the community, and we will be working with you where you are right now. What is coming up for you right now? And then around that, I might say, hey, like if you're in my business coaching program, which by the way, again, if you're curious about Aliveness Mastery, type mastery in the chat. If you're curious about my business program, or if you're not sure what you're curious about, but you're just like, man, I'm really loving this and I want to know more, then type clarity in the chat. We do a free 30-minute session called a clarity call. And it is a free 30-minute kind of mini coaching session to help you see more of what you want and what's getting in your way, and then the next steps to get there. If you're curious about that, type clarity in the chat. There's nothing for sale on that initial call. It's just a chance for you to get some free coaching, for us to get a sense for you. And then if we both feel like, oh, this is awesome, this is a mutual fit, then we'll tell you about what it would be like to apply for one of our programs. But that's completely optional. So type clarity in the chat if you're not really sure, but you're curious. And we can I'll have my team get back to you about a free session. So what was I going to say? About my business coaching program is that we have a content vault. And so I will tell people based on where they are in their business, hey, go watch this video or do this piece and apply that, and then come back to the live calls and I'm going to coach you around what's coming up, or go into the chat, ask questions as they're coming up. So you're not sitting there getting stuck. So everything is customized to you and to what's going on in your life, because every area of life impacts every other area, right? People come into our business coaching programs, we ain't just going to coach you on your business, right? Because if you've got something going on in your relationship and it's taken you completely off track, then that's what we need to talk about. We just had a woman last week, she just signed her first $1,500 client, which is a huge deal for her. And she's so excited. And, how she got here was she had a lot of stuff coming up personally for her. She's a mom. She has 2 little kids at home. One is only like 6 months old. Her husband was injured. He's in the police force. And she's had a lot going on in her life. And I said, keep showing up for the calls. We want to support you. Let's talk through how to get yourself set up in such a way that we can move you forward to that next step in your business. Because if we didn't talk about all that, she would drop out of the program, right? She wouldn't be getting the results because she would just get overwhelmed and disappear. You understand? So we work with you. We work with you. And that is the coaching philosophy I believe in. So it's up to you all. I mean, Loretta, you can teach however you want, right? This is just, I would say, don't agree and don't disagree. Just take what works for you and leave the rest. I'm just going to share my stance and what I've really seen work and be really transformational for others. So again, I'd love to know, do you have any questions before we wrap up? I'm getting a lot of that makes sense. Okay, great. That's awesome. Any other questions? Because Loretta's question was a really great one there to really clarify, how do you use this? How do you use this? So I hope you guys wrote down these main points. Don't solve people's problems. Give them a bigger and better problem, going for what they want. Don't listen. Instead, watch for the lights. Stay in the seat of the coach. Don't give advice. Allow people to choose their path. And then if you think you know what's going on, you're full of it. So what's been your biggest aha so far from the call today? What's been your biggest aha so far from the call today? And then Helena, I know we have your Prepare to Shine call this week. I'm so excited for that. Let's see, Michelle, Loretta, who else was on today? Catherine, Eve, Joanne, anyone else watching? If you are curious at all, if you've enjoyed this and our other training videos, like I said, type clarity in the chat. We'd love to chat with you. We'd love to do one of those free sessions with you and see how we could support you potentially further. And either way, you'll get a great free coaching session out of it. So if you haven't done one already, highly, highly recommend it. I'm also going to be leading a webinar next week, a masterclass. I don't have the link yet to sign up for it, but if you guys are interested, you can type masterclass in the chat. It's on a topic that I actually taught about last week in the group, which is about our top coaching questions and then what not to say in coaching sessions. And just really, it's like diving deeper into that topic because we've had so much curiosity about that topic. We created a free guide of like our top 10 coaching questions, and we had so much engagement on that call last week that I wanted to open it up to the public, not just, this group, and offer a deep dive training. So it's going to be a 90-minute on Zoom. You guys will be, face to face with me. You can ask questions, and we will really dive deep into more of we're really focused right now in the group on the coaching mastery side. So there's the coaching mastery side, business mastery, and self mastery. Yeah. And so Helena, I mentioned this last week, the clarity call and the Prepare to Shine call are similar. So we've got you covered already on the Prepare to Shine call. That's basically what we'll be doing this week. So that'll be great. Michelle, loved it all. Give them bigger problems was an eye-opener. Great. Awesome, everyone. So if you're curious about the masterclass, just type masterclass in the chat. It's going to be a week from Thursday, so after the holiday weekend if you are here in the US. And that will be on our top coaching questions and how to create a space for profound transformation for your clients. Okay, thank you all for being here. I went a little longer again. I'm trying to get these down to 30 minutes, but there's so much I want to share. So I always appreciate having the engagement, having you all, typing in the chat. It makes such a difference for me to be able to make it interactive and make sure I'm answering your questions and everything. Next week, we will have our class actually on Tuesday because it is a holiday here in the US. So our usual weekly masterclass will be Tuesday at the same time. And the topic of that, let me just look and see what that topic is. Ooh, we have a lot of, okay, here we go. How to get your clients unstuck. So again, we're focused on the coaching mastery side right now of the coaching trinity that I talk about, which is self-mastery first, business mastery, coaching mastery, in whatever order you want to say there. So mastering your own transformation, getting your own clarity, learning how to move through your blocks or the things that keep you stuck. That's self-mastery. Business mastery, how to actually grow your coaching business in a way that's really aligned for you. And then coaching mastery being what we're mostly talking about in these calls. So that's what we really cover in our 9-month program. And right now in our group, we're really focused on the coaching mastery in these series. So see you all next week for how to get your clients unstuck on Tuesday. Helena will send you the info for the masterclass and anyone else on the replay who asks for it. All right. Bye, everyone.